Do you know what today is?
It is the last day of the Trump nightmare. I'm not even going to say presidency because what the fuck happened these last 4 years?
Girl, what was that? What was that?
Where are the adults? I asked you this last week. I still want to know, where are the adults?
If you think about it, even though we have a transition team in place, who's been in charge since like November 6th?
It's like, that time where you're leaving and you submit your 2 weeks, and those 2 weeks while you're waiting to leave the job, you're just like fucking around.
Oh, those 2 weeks while you're waiting to leave the job, you take out old newspaper, you paper your desk, and then you lay a giant dead fish on it. You fillet that motherfucker, you gut that motherfucker, and you put your flip-flop feet on the desk like Office Space, and you're fucking around. But they've been doing that for 5 years, and then every now and again checking their Slack and checking their email to make sure that everybody knows that the work done here should be white power.
Chris's famous last words on November 7th were, listen, there are people in place. This isn't going to be out of control. I know you're scared. I know that you're worried, but it's going to be okay. And
what was it? We should have a drinking game. Checks and balances. Was that
right?
The term?
Right. Of course. Like, he doesn't have absolute power. And so I lulled myself into a false sense of security, at least for that first year, thinking, okay, he's right. And it's just become ever more clear with each passing day. And I feel like, just for me personally, the 6th was the day where I was like, what's even happening? How is this happening? And now I know that there are people, good, honest cops who were in there that day, who were actually doing the work and trying to stop the terrorists from coming in, and were trying to protect the men and women who were in the Capitol building. But at the same time, how many were there complicit?
They were looking at their colleagues like, what are you doing, man? What you just gonna let him in? You're just gonna we're using the battering ram with them. Okay, wow.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't know that was the gig.
The brazenness I've been following. I think you're on that Instagram as well, the Homegrown Terrorists Instagram.
Oh, I'm worried for the person that curates that account. Honestly,
I am too.
I sent a little money on the Venmo, like, good luck, homie, because
I know
you ain't gonna make it.
It's terrifying. I shouldn't have watched it, but I said Netflix or Hulu. Somebody's got the I don't even know what it's called. It's like a dramatization of the Olympic bombing in Atlanta. And
I'll watch that.
Watching, it's good. It's a series, but watching him receive protection and what I want to say, I guess just protection. They're giving him weapons. The bomber links up at one point with these militiamen, and they protect him, and the goal for them at that time was to get him out of the state. I believe he was hiding out, I want to say in North Carolina, in the woods. And the level of organization and white power, I mean,
preparation,
it's just,
yes, the violence. And that's the part that I think that the mainstream news is disconnecting. Like, if you get your main news from like Twitter,
mm-hmm.
and like not just CNN, not just MSNBC, obviously never from Fox News, never from OWN. But if you like read old school investigative journalism, you know, that's where you'll see and that's where you'll find out about, like, you know, what they're calling the quote unquote infiltration of white militia groups, white nationalists, into like police forces, into like, you know, certain arms of the military. And it's just like, those things aren't infiltrations. Those are just how they've always been. Like, we can't be confused. It's not like a bunch of white power guys just suddenly joined the police force. No, the police force was, you know, the foundation of it was Klan motherfuckers. Like, what are you talking about? It's always been this way.
Right.
So,
and the whole, like, what are they calling them? Oh, shoot. They've given them some hillbilly name, and it's escaping me right now.
Boogaloo Boys?
No.
Proud Boys? I mean,
No,
there's tons of them.
There's something with y'all in it. Oh, shoot.
Oh, Al-Qaeda. Yep.
Yes, Al-Qaeda.
Yeah, that's always what it's been.
But I think that the thing that people need to recognize, and you pointed this out recently, is that it's doctors and attorneys and, you know, former military men and women. These are people who are educated. And I brought up very promptly in this group of these women who were making fun of them and referring to them as rednecks and hillbillies, which there are some. However, if you look at cult members and you look at some of the ones that are the most prevalent in, you know, in our memory as a society, they are by and large made up of really intelligent people who at a very vulnerable time in their life or in a time when they're feeling unseen and unheard, this personality comes in and builds them up and gives them this belief that they are the person to put their trust and support behind.
Not even just trust and support. Trust, support, financial access, resources, education. And if you, any documentary on any rise of any cult, all of it will tell you it is doctors, it is lawyers, it's accountants. Like the one we just watched with the bomb ass Nikes.
Heaven's Gate.
Heaven's Gate. IT people in the 70s and 80s. These are people that, you know, have the same level of intelligence as a, you know, early Microsoft, early Apple. People that were building the infrastructure of the worldwide ass web. And these are people that fell prey to a cult leader. So I always make it a point, like, the front-facing picture of the Trump supporter, which also mainstream media and even left-leaning media is responsible for. You know, they're always running these kind of feel-good stories about how did you become a Trump supporter? You know, explain to me how you got here. No one ever talks to, like, the Biden supporter. No one ever talks to, you know, the anti-Trump person. They're always wanting us to better understand rural America and better understand, you know, why this MAGA redneck got to where he is. And it's just like, that literally does not matter. We need to talk to the doctor, the lawyer, the accountant, the people who are putting their money into this shit. The people that are putting their areas of expertise into this shit. In fact, the call was coming from inside the house. Congress members are part of that shit. I don't know why we're pretending like that's not true. That lady Lauren, Shooter's Grill, she had her mama in there with maps. I don't care what nobody say.
Well, the headsets that they had on, the prep items for being maced or gassed. They
how about
were ready.
She was live tweeting where Nancy was? I'm pretty sure they said don't do that. I don't.
Yes.
So, I also read that they're now, you know, because they've brought in all the National Guard hella late to protect the inauguration, and now they're starting to vet the National Guard and make sure that they don't have affiliations with white power groups or whatever. And I'm thinking to myself, how do you vet trained military personnel that you trained in subterfuge. Like, their whole job is to fuck y'all. Their whole job is to be something they're not so that, they could infiltrate our enemies. But if they're also the enemy, they're using the tools that you gave them to fuck you up. I'm like,
right.
So how are you going to vet yourself, really, is what I'm asking.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm really nervous for it. I really. But then, there's also the quiet Trump supporter who is deep down, and maybe even surface level, if they have half a heart left, ashamed of the choice that they made to go in this direction, and they've pivoted immediately. After that embarrassment, they've pivoted immediately. Because I don't really talk directly to no Trump supporters, but I asked some. I asked a friend who knows some, and she was like, Melissa, they have pivoted to, we're going to respect the office of the president because that's what you're supposed to do. So when we've been arguing with them for the past 5 years, how could you vote for Trump? How could you vote for Trump? And then we're sitting here like mouthing off about how disgusting he is because we're like, but what about Mexicans or rapists? What about Jews will not replace us? What about grabbing by the pussy? Like, all the little bullet points that we had.
Yeah.
And then they would say, well, you should respect the office of the president. And we'd be like, fuck that. Yeah. But now they're going back to that because that's the easiest way to circumvent responsibility for where we are right now. It's back to, what? I didn't vote for Biden, but I'm going to respect Biden. And I'm thinking to myself, I mean, I guess, but I'm going to still need you to take responsibility for the choice you made.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they're not gonna.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely not. Because it's embarrassing to admit that you fell for it. Right. Somebody brought up the other day in one of the Facebook groups, the literally the only one that I'm in outside of the podcast one, about it related specifically to storming the Capitol, but how we reacted when Trump was elected. And I was like, guys, we knitted pink pussy hats and walked around peacefully. Like, what did they expect us?
There couldn't be a less violent reaction. We knit pink hats and said, please care about us.
I cried the whole day at the gym, doing my work, looking at the TV, crying.
And they're like, well, the whole time you were saying, we told you to get over it because you lost. And we were like, yeah. And then we proceeded to watch the president. We got over it, but we didn't try to storm the Capitol, you see.
Right.
And that's the thing, that disconnect is so strong. That disconnect is so embedded in their minds. Because I've seen, there's a little weird pocket of TikTok of super progressive, funny people who are able to distill the message into a 60-second funny little clip. And there's this guy who's just been I don't know how or why, but he just found one random little white Republican girl and he's just been destroying her with song. We'll have to put it in the story for days now. And she was just like, you don't see us crying in the streets. And his response is, actually, I do. And then he does a compilation of all of them crying in the streets. And then at one point she calls Democrats hypocrites, because of Black Lives Matter, this and that. And he was like, okay, let me explain something to you, motherfucker. We are not the same. And that's the place where you get in your chest. Like you get tight, you get upset because you're like, it's just so clear and obvious to you that you can't fathom how it's not to them. Yeah. But then you have to remember they're in that bubble of cult level brainwashing. That's what it is. So it's just like, we're not the same because you said you couldn't march for Black lives because you respected blue lives, but then when y'all stormed the Capitol, you literally beat a cop to death.
Right.
You were a firefighter who beat a cop with a fire extinguisher, or you beat him with an American flag pole. So
Right.
if you want to, like,
Yeah.
like, and a lot of the stuff that's coming out now, it almost is it's just too Larry Davidian, where you're just like, that's not true. What do you mean she got trampled to death while wearing a "Don't Tread on Me" flag? That's crazy. But that's really what happened.
Right.
It's not funny. You cannot.
No, we also can't laugh at the man that tased himself to death.
In the balls. It's not funny though.
It's not funny. That was a human life.
May he
that was
rest
lost.
May he rest in peace. No, but it's like, you guys, it's at the same time that we're like, it's intelligent doctors, it's intelligent accountants, but it's also dumbass real estate agents.
Right. Yeah.
How are you storming the Capitol and being like, you know what, if you need real estate in Texas, hit me up? What?
Right. I love watching all of the videos. I watched one this morning of this man like detailing every single thing that he had done and where he had been and what he was doing. And I'm like, you guys realize that you are a defense attorney's best case scenario. Thank you for putting this on Twitter.
But the amazing part of it is there is overwhelming actual, DNA level evidence of the commission of their crimes, and at the same time they're being released on house arrest.
Mm-hmm.
Like what? Because white privilege is amazing.
Yeah. I think that this was a real opportunity for Republicans, and some Republicans did stand up, and that has to be respected. But the majority of them really missed the opportunity to stand on the right side of history. And I understand that people are afraid of losing their jobs, but it's like, at what cost, guys?
And the thing is, you already lost it, though. You already lost all credibility. If you worked in commission with the Trump administration and moving forward, you think that you're going to be respected in any capacity, in any political capacity, in any professional capacity. I'm looking at your resume like, but hold on. So you were just agreeing to the bullshit this whole time? Uh-huh. I mean, one of your good aspects is that you're malleable as fuck, but also you're evil. And that's the thing. They're all going to start, that rehabilitation thing.
Right.
They're already starting.
Hire a good PR team. They better hire Meghan Markle's PR team.
Not even. Meghan Markle needs a new one, too, because she's really still struggling to get her face back out there. And I'm like, girl, we do not care about that old-ass lawsuit. She's still trying to talk about that. We do not care. We do not care. We saw the letter between you and your dad. We still don't care. I didn't care when it was leaked. You're the only one still talking about it. That's why we still talking about it.
Yeah.
But, Kellyanne Conway, Kayleigh McEnany, you guys are not rehabilitatable.
Right.
You're out of here. You're out of here. What job are you going to get? Especially Ivanka Trump.
I love seeing like the denials come across my newsfeed. Like, didn't they just get denied from some kind of social club or country club?
Oh,
I love seeing that PGA is canceling golf tournament. I'm like, yes.
Oh, I love it. I mean, really, honestly, they need to have their passports taken away.
Mm-hmm.
Because
no fly list.
Yep. Because they need to be put in jail.
Yeah, they do.
All of them. And if any of them, there's some, we can't, because what dirt are we going to find on Tiffany? They've been ignoring her for so long, and then they trot her out every now and again. But I think she can go to jail just for being ugly. You're out of here, too.
She's just around in case Ivanka needs organs. She's disposable.
Yeah. She's And you know what? I always think about that, too. Nobody wanted to stand with Mary Trump. There's literally only one good Trump. A whole family, and there's only one?
Usually it's the other way around. The rest of the family's okay, and you've got that one bad egg. But they're
Right.
just throw them away, start over.
Like, yeah, everybody has the one.
Just the one.
We don't need a bunch of them. Theirs is a totally upside down scheme.
Hopefully tomorrow goes off without a hitch. And I think the other thing that's concerning is the impeachment trial. It's like, God damn it.
If
Guys,
we even get to that, because I feel
know.
like it's some fucking bullshit gonna be afoot. Because if only 10 Republicans, here's your cookie, you pieces of shit. You can share it. If only 10 Republicans voted to impeach in the first place, how many will not convict? Or like, if those 10 Republicans are now scared for their lives, or whatever it is, because the other ones were saying openly. I think there was one that did not vote, and then the other ones that just said nay, and then a few of them came out and were like, we've been threatened and this and that. So if they were threatened just on the vote to impeach, imagine the escalation of the threat on the vote to convict.
They should be protected. Offer these people protection. Put them in the witness protection. I don't give a shit. But
I mean, I don't want to pay for that either. I'm going to just need y'all to do the right thing and go the fuck away.
oh God.
I really do want to see the itemized list. Because think about how much they complained about Obama's golfing and Obama's trips to Hawaii.
Please.
You saw the story about Ivanka's toilets?
No.
Dude, the Secret Service that had to protect her were not permitted to go inside her home and use one of her 6 gilded fucking toilets. So taxpayers, I forget the date range that they gave, paid upwards of $100,000 for Secret Service to be able to use a bathroom while they were in service of Ivanka and Jared Trump. That's the kind of people they are.
Wow, that is upsetting. Shit. You have 6 toilets. Okay, here's the deal. There are what? How many of them? 5 of them? So if you all 5 need your own individual toilets, then you save the one that's on the main level for the people that are coming to help you out.
They have a weird obsession with toilets, though, because you remember when Melania moved in. Melania, that's another thing. We're not going to let her get away with shit either, by the way.
Absolutely not.
I better not see a motherfucking Melania fucking blush kit. I better not see a Melania microblading. You motherfuckers. No, she can have nothing. I don't want to see her fucking influencing. I don't want to see her TikTok dancing. I don't want to see that fucking cunt getting a blowout. She's out of here. Do you remember the early reports when they first... Melania would... Remember, she didn't come. She didn't move into the house for a long time.
She stayed in New York for a while, yeah. And they said...
Claiming,
didn't they blame it on school?
Yeah, claiming she gave a shit about that child's schooling. Girl, come on. That boy been on Nintendo Switch this whole time. If he's not logged into fucking Stormfront doing his white power shit. She wanted all of the toilets replaced because she could not use a toilet that, Michelle used. And I'm thinking to myself,
oh my God.
And that's the part that she gets away with so much. People have a weird empathy for her, and she's literally the same birther as her husband. She's literally the same malignant narcissist as her husband. Mm-hmm. Every message, she fucking, her first message post insurrection was, "I can't believe you guys are gossiping about me," but also, "Rest in peace, Ashley Babbitt." Like, what the fuck?
Right. I think that people have created their own fan fiction. They want to so desperately believe that she's miserable, and the denial of the public displays of affection. They live for this because I think, I felt this way in the very beginning too. You want to think that there's absolutely no way somebody could fuck him. There's no way. So, when she does those things, you're like, yes, ew, I wouldn't want to hold his hand either, or I wouldn't want to stand next to him either. But at the same time, you've got to look at reality and be like, she's been here for a while, and she's just as in this as he is. She's not a prisoner. She's not vulnerable. She's got a trap baby, so she could leave and get that alimony, get that child support.
I mean, can she? He's known to not pay his bills.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, true. Okay, so you're fucked.
But yeah, you heard Rudy Giuliani. He apparently had a $20,000 a day retainer. Donald Trump's not paying him either, and Rudy Giuliani is shocked. And we're like, sir, this con man literally has not been paying his bills for, how old's the motherfucker? 70 years. Of course you're not getting paid.
I love it.
It's if this were scripted, it would be thrown out, because it's just so much of it is too on the mark. It's too crazy. What do you mean he farted COVID in the middle of a fucking hearing about election fraud that didn't exist? I mean, so much of it is so outrageous.
Yeah.
That from the outside looking in, you're like, we can never travel again post-pandemic because I have an American passport.
Mm-hmm.
They need to have a way to and not a easy disposable way like a sticker. I mean an identifiable way, like they give your ass a fucking tattoo that says you were never Trumper. Listen, I'm cool.
Right. No, it's very real though, because we traveled the very first time we traveled to Europe. It was in 2008, and in my preparation for going on this trip, there were recommendations, and this is like 2008. Like, shit's not terrible here, but Americans are by and large despised, and there were recommendations to like put a Canadian flag on your bag, or just flat out lie, and when somebody asks where you're from, you tell them Canada.
And that was 2008 was happy times.
Right. But I was so concerned with people being upset with me. Like, I bought there's this language program that I found online called Earworms, and they teach you language, and it's set to music, because the theory being that we learn songs so easily because they're set to music and they have that rhythmic quality, that I was learning French and Italian with these Earworms tapes just so that I could go in and like, obviously nobody ever wanted to speak with me in their native language. Like, everybody speaks beautiful English, but I was like so hyper aware. Like, I didn't take any jeans because everything I read was like, Europeans, they're typically dressed up, they're dressed nicely, they're not running around in jeans and sneakers. And so like, I told Chris, I was like, we're not taking jeans. We are going to use their language. We are going to try the best that we can to like not be American.
Yeah, bitch, when we went to this was like build the wall time. Build the wall. Fucking Mexicans are rapists. We went to Tulum.
Oh no.
And, stayed in our room mostly and just went to eat and stuff, but like, and Justin speaks fluent Spanish, which is nice. But like,
Yeah.
I would hear him talking to, staff, waiters, housekeepers, just, shooting the shit, like, how are you? I could pick up on the little things, and all the time I'd be like, oh, no Trump. Every time. Like, he would have to, like, defend. He felt the need to put it out there. Like, oh, no.
Yeah, to disassociate yourself.
Yeah. To where, like, in Spanish, he's sitting there having this whole conversation about how this man is a piece of shit. And I'm sitting here trying to relax on the beach. I'm like, it's okay. I think they know we're cool. I'm brownish, and you're like, you look like them. It's cool.
Brown adjacent.
So we'll see.
It's tricky. Ugh.
What do you think that what do you think that Biden is going to do about this pandemic?
I think that what is it? Is it 1 million vaccinations in 100 days?
Do we think that's possible?
No.
Do we even
It's
have that many?
Yeah. It's so, it's like, I can't even, it goes back to that, like, where are the adults? Aren't there people that are in charge of making sure that this runs smoothly? And I was in our favorite friend who shall remain nameless, anti-vax, had posted in an article, I think it was on NPR or something, about, vaccinations. And so I think that we are up against a few different problems as it relates to messaging around vaccines. So I think the first problem, obviously, is the execution of the plan. We don't have enough, is what we're hearing. And we're to the point where we don't have enough to vaccinate as many people as we want, because we're running into this problem that some of these vaccines are 2-dose vaccines, right? So first problem is just like logistics. The second problem is the fact that I don't think that the majority of people understand what a vaccination does and how it works. And so there is nervousness around it being done so quickly, which the science is there. These vaccines are effective. Obviously, we don't know if there are any long-term side effects. So I think that it's well and good to have a critical mind and to be following things and watching the research. But so far, I think I heard yesterday, 11 million people have been vaccinated, and the instances of either allergic reactions or the issues that we're seeing in Norway, it's like the people that died in Norway were already medically fragile. And so when we look at the big picture, they are most likely the people who COVID would have taken out anyways. And they just so happen to, their condition seemed to be exacerbated by the vaccination. I think people need to understand, and this was the pushback that I was seeing in this thread on Facebook, was that, well, if it's not going to stop me from getting COVID, then what's the point? And it's like, okay, but none of the vaccinations that you've received are going to make you invincible to whatever the disease is that you could potentially get. So even though you've given your child MMR, that doesn't mean that they're, invincible to getting measles, mumps, or rubella. It just means that if they do get it, your symptoms, the severity of the disease is less than if they weren't protected. So you're giving yourself a leg up. And so I think that there needs to be strong messaging of, like, people say, well, I got the flu vaccine and then I got the flu. Right, motherfucker. Chances are you're going to get the flu because there's different strains, and nobody promised you that you weren't going to get the flu. You were just promised that your case, may not require hospitalization or may be less severe than if you just, raw dogged it out there and caught it. And so I think that
when
there's...
you say the messaging, with that is they need to explain that, yes, you will get if you did catch the shit, you could survive the motherfucker.
Right.
But also, you're still going to need to wear a mask.
Yes.
And that, I haven't seen that.
Right.
Widely broadcast.
People think that they get the vaccine and then they're free to move in the world, and then there's that other part of, well, now having the vaccine, you could get it and be asymptomatic and spreading it to other people. So that's why the mask is important. There needs to be some kind of amazing marketing campaign.
Yeah, that's what I said. They need to have the song. Remember I said, we are the motherfucking world level. I need every celebrity.
Right.
I need y'all holding hands, gloved hands. I need y'all singing into the microphone with the mask. Yeah. I need you to fucking... And if Joe hasn't been working on that this whole time,
mm-hmm.
I need that commercial on 24/7.
So back in is it the 50s or the 60s, whenever the was it polio? I think when the polio vaccine came out, they actually brought Elvis Presley on TV and vaccinated him live on TV to convince people, because people were afraid and resistant. So this isn't anything new. We shouldn't be surprised. by the public's, hesitation or reaction to this, but there does need to be a very clear and consistent messaging. And we need to have somebody that can provide, critical thinking, because I think we as a society, by and large, lack it.
I've actually, in the early stages of the pandemic, March, April, May, when we were just starting to talk about, and read about the development of a vaccine, like, I originally, my black ass was like, oh no, homie, nope. You're not gonna hit me up with no rushed ass vaccine. Y'all can go to hell with that shit. I Tuskegee Airmen. I mean, I was I was in that camp of people that and of people that, were justifiably, understandably nervous about rapid rollout of quote unquote rushed vaccine. But the more information that comes out, it's your personal individual responsibility to educate yourself on it. But people aren't sitting there reading medical journals, which is why we need a campaign to educate people. Now that I've understood, the mRNA technology, and I get it, and it's not a dead vaccine going inside my body and all that, I'm like, okay, I'd be willing to take that motherfucker. Not now. I'm still like, I'm gonna still wait for y'all to get it. But like, I've stopped saying out loud terms like rushed ass vaccine, and I've stopped being openly suspicious, because that's dangerous. That's not cool. I mean, I'm sorry. Go ahead and write it down. Mark this day in history. I'm sorry. I was wrong. I shouldn't say that shit. But
I find I sent this to you yesterday. There's a woman who has recently, I think, risen in her Instagram fame. Her handle is King Gutter Baby, and she is an infectious disease researcher. And
that really pretty white lady. And her teeth are really nice, and she talks with her bottom teeth. Yeah.
Yes, she's a very palatable way to receive the information about COVID and about the vaccine. She provides very clear data, or evidence-driven data.
And she has very few grammatical errors, which is why I really like her.
So she's nice to look at, and she's informative. I also follow an epidemiologist based here in Ohio, and her handle is Tori Afey. She does a regular weekly Q&A about COVID, and so it's been calming for me to watch these women explain in very clear and easy to understand terms, because I find that when I go to traditional media outlets, it's very sensationalized, as it normally is, and it makes me very anxious.
Well, actually, this is really good, because this will be a good time for you to clarify, because I think a lot of people from an earlier episode in season 1 just have this assumption about you that you are totally anti-vaccine. And I've had to, I've fielded DMs, be like, hold on, Melissa, you talking to an anti-vax lady. I mean, I hope you know. I'm like, nah, she just don't give them the one that she don't give a fuck about. She gives them all the other ones. So I've had to explain that you're not anti-vaccine, and there are like nuance to what you've chosen to give your kids, but that your kids aren't walking around not vaccinated. Your kids aren't walking around,
Oh, no. No. Okay, so let me just, for the record, come on, put your earbuds in, turn up the volume. I am not anti-vax. When I was pregnant with Quinn, if you don't know, now you do, I am a researcher. I am somebody that wants to know all of the sides of a situation before I make a decision. So when I was pregnant with Quinn, I bought, Dr. Sears has a book called The Vaccine Book. It's a fantastic resource because it lays out every single childhood vaccination. It gives you the different brands. It gives you the ingredients. It talks very plainly about what some of the hubbub is about around some of these vaccinations, specifically MMR, because I feel like that one's been the one that's come under fire after Jenny McCarthy had to bring herself into the equation. So it's a really nice, if you're in this position where you're vaccinating your kids and you're just not sure how you feel about it, it helped me to better understand why people were concerned. What are some of the ingredients that give people pause? What are some of the vaccine injuries that can be experienced? Because you can ask for the leaflet within the vaccine, but it's heavy to extrapolate the information that you want. So I chose, starting with Quinn, that, given our circumstances, my child was not in daycare. She was being cared for, by family exclusively. She wasn't in a public school setting. So I had the privilege to be able to wait on some of those things that maybe I would have felt differently about had we been in a different place. So I wanted to wait. I felt that it was right to give her body some time to develop and to grow, and then space out her vaccines so that she wasn't receiving, 2 or 3 in a visit, because I felt like if she had a reaction or something went wrong, then it's going to be easier to understand where it came from than playing this guessing game of, well, was it this one? Was it this one? Was it something totally unrelated? And so that, and I talked to my pediatrician about it. I expressed my concerns ahead of time, and she worked with me to come up with a schedule to, make sure that my children were fully vaccinated by the time that they entered kindergarten. Now, they have not received hepatitis B, but they are also not engaged in intravenous drugs or unprotected sex. So when the time comes where they might want to shoot up heroin,
Yeah,
I'll recommend that they get Hep B.
So when she 11 years old. Okay.
Right. So that's my stance, is that there were some, they didn't get vaccinated for rotavirus because they weren't in a daycare setting. Had they been in daycare, I would have felt differently about it, because that's an easy thing for them to pick up. But it was something that I talked to her pediatrician about, and her pediatrician is a normal ass lady with 5 kids who I trust implicitly, and who was open to, working with me to develop a schedule that I felt comfortable with and that was medically sound.
See, so now that has been cleared up. And I think that there is, I spaced mine 100. You know how sometimes they can get the vaccine and there are a few vaccines where they package 3 of them in one little dose?
Yes.
I was that annoying mom that was like, no, I'm going to need 3 separate little motherfuckers, and I'll come here, every 60 days or whatever, and I'm going to be annoying, and it's going to take longer, and there are going to be more visits. But I was that annoying mom too with Shalom. I completely get that. And, but my kids got all the vaccines. And what's crazy is I'll be the first one to be like, vaccinate your motherfucking kids. Even though my child had a very rare vaccine injury.
That's right.
So I did vaccinate against rotavirus, and sure enough, Shira came down right after it with a case of intussusception, which is where your small intestine starts, tunneling in on itself. So like a telescope. Mm-hmm. And so after she had gotten it, she would be intermittently screaming and kicking her legs at the same time. So it would be like sharp cramping pains. And I remember it happening and being like, what's wrong with my baby? And not understanding it, but being the Googler that I am. And, you have to put in a very precise combination of words. They don't want you to find this information. You have to put in a very precise combination of words to even get to that. And so when we were in the emergency room, trust and believe that I had done my due diligence, and I went in there and I was like, y'all, I know that you're going to do, like the air enema, and you're going to do all this. And I said, what you're going to need to look for is intussusception. I called my girlfriend's dad is a doctor. She called him, and he was just like, that's exactly what she needs to ask for. And we did. And she was in the hospital for a day, and it was handled, but it was that. And I remember the doctors, because they hate a Googling ass mom. They hate a Googling mom.
Oh, They hate us. They're like, oh, shit. Isn't there an episode of Seinfeld where, like, Elaine has a file, like a note in her file that's just like, don't.
I'm her, 100%. So I remember explaining it and being like, yeah, she did have the rotavirus vaccine on this date, so it is lining up. And I remember 3 different doctors came and talked to me because, I'm holding the baby.
Yeah.
She's in her little gown looking all sad. And
Aww.
nobody wanted to confirm that there was that connection. And I was like, it's fine. You don't have to say it. I know you don't want to say it. It's cool. But that's what it is? Okay, thanks. So, Justin would be like, babe, shh. I'm like, I know, but that's what it is.
Right.
I remember, Justin's posted a picture on his on his personal Instagram with a caption that was like super anti-vaccine. And I was like, babe, even though we have every right and position to be like, man, fuck that vaccine, he was like, fuck vaccines. And it was like the sad little picture of Shira. I was like, you can't post this. And he was like, why? I was like, I had to put underneath his caption. I was like, we definitely believe in it. I would do it again. My little baby, it sucked, but I would do it again. So, spacing and all that shit, I get it. I mean, but then you have your next 2 and you're just like, fuck it, they were fine. Let's go.
I think that's part of the larger conversation around being an advocate for yourself when it comes to, to anything, specifically, your body, because nobody knows your child the way that you do, and nobody knows your body the way that you do. And so if you suspect something, I mean, can you fall down the rabbit hole of WebMD and end up with cancer every single time? Of course.
Oh,
yes.
bitch, I have that shit.
But I think that, going in and being educated, I never want to make decisions for my kids or myself, health-wise based on fear. And so I always try to understand as much as I can with my, medical pea brain that I have, risks and benefits. And when I was in having my abortion with Luca, the nurse came in and said that I needed to be put on Pitocin. And I stopped her and I said, no, I can't have Pitocin because I've had 2 previous cesareans and I understand that I have a risk of uterine rupture if you give me Pitocin. And my dad was in the room and my dad looked at me like, how the fuck did you know that?
And you're looking at him like, why wouldn't I know that?
Right. And I said, because when I tried to have a VBAC with Bennett, I had to do my research and I had to understand what my risks were as having had a cesarean, the things that I couldn't have, because you never know, what nurse you're going to have or what doctor, and they may not look at your chart. They might not know your history. And so I needed to be prepared in that moment to advocate for myself. And the nurse did come back in and she's like, I talked to the doctor, it's okay in this situation. This is how much we're giving you. But it's those moments where I'm like, maybe I was being a little too cautious, but in the same token, I have heard too many stories of women. I mean, this is a conversation for a different day, but Black women and women of color being denied treatment because they know what's up with their bodies. They know what's going on and not being believed.
Oh, pain tolerance not being believed.
Yes. But there's a very real history of doctors and medical professionals being told that Black skin is different and they perceive pain differently. And,
girl, if Serena Williams almost died on the table giving birth to her baby, then none of us are safe. No, I know. Yeah, and that, when you say the thing about Black skin too, remember when all of the information was coming out about the way that COVID affects people's skin, and all the pictures that were coming out of COVID toes was all white toes. So I'm sitting there looking around like, how's Shorty gonna know if he got COVID? His toes ain't gonna look like that.
Right.
But it just goes to hives show up on Black skin differently. A lot of it's really true.
Yeah. So I don't want to scare anybody, but also
I love scaring people. So like when you're King Gutter Baby, I think it's a calming, reassuring tone. Like, so to hear you, a person that people have perceived to be anti-vaccine, who has now stated clearly Amanda is not anti-vaccine. Let's get that clear and for the record. But to hear you, saying this clear explanation from these epidemiologists have led me to understand that there's less to be afraid of with the COVID vaccine. Nobody here said that we're going to jump in and take it just yet, but we're saying you have less trepidation about it.
Of course.
That's valuable. But at the same time, I believe in the power of fear-mongering. So
I think that it's important, to, if you are, because I can go to a really dark, scary place. So, and maybe that's just for me personally. I appreciate, and this is what I look for in all of my doctors. And this is what I really appreciate, from my midwife, from my kid's pediatrician, is that they are the type of person that is, there's that standard doctor, I'm just going to give you straight from what the medical text says, or I'm just going to give you straight from what the research says. And it's right, but I'm also a human being. So I want you to talk to me like a human being, and I want you to explain to me the risks. And, when my midwife says, if you were my sister or if you were my daughter, I would recommend this. Or, one of my kids had a cavity and the dentist was like, if he were my son, I would do this. And then I would watch this and I wouldn't deal with it because he's going to lose a tooth. And it's thank you. Thank you for talking to me like a human being and understanding that this is more than just a clinical presentation. This is a human that we're dealing with, and it's my human or my body. Please talk to me in a way that I know you're just not feeding me a line of bullshit that this is bespoke care or whatever.
No, I've had my fair share of dismissive doctors. Girl, I told you. I went into with Shalom. I went into a women OBGYN practice. Mm-hmm. And I specifically wanted to get the black one. Yeah. The black one was the meanest one. I was like, how the fuck is this gonna work? She was the most dismissive one. She didn't know shit about my chart, and that's why Shalom was fucking sunny side up, and I had the worst delivery ever.
No.
And from there, I ended up moving to a one-man practice that was fucking hundreds of miles away, just because I needed to feel heard and respected, and he came widely, highly recommended, and he's still my OBGYN to this day. Mm-hmm. But no, it's so important to find a doctor that respects you and believes you and listens to you. That's why my general practitioner specializes in geriatrics, dead ass. So he sees. Yeah. Matter of fact, when I picked him out of the book, I came to have just my physical. My insurance has switched, and I came to have just my initial consultation and figure and physical and all that, to get the blood work going and get my file started. And he was like, "You're young." Because the waiting room was hella old, motherfuckers. And he's like, it's general practice, but I specialize in geriatrics. And I was like, uh-huh. And he was like, okay. And I was like, he literally has to enunciate slow and yell in people's ears all day. So he has the patience for a patient like me. And when I go in there and I have the questions that I have, I feel heard. And that's why I make Justin go to him. He's the sweetest little Indian man. And he definitely thinks I'm crazy, but he listens to me. And when I say I want some shit, I get it. Like, what about
I think
pills,
that's it's so important, and I think that a lot of people just they don't. I try to compare it, when I've heard people in the past not really give much thought about who they were seeing, whether it's an OB-GYN or a midwife or a general practitioner. It's like, you wouldn't accept the level of, poor service that you're receiving from this person from your hairdresser or at a restaurant. And so when it comes to your body, why are you so willing to just say, oh, well, they're the doctor, they know the best thing? I'm not saying that doctors aren't incredibly smart and don't do their research, but sometimes you get them and they're dismissive or they're tired or maybe they don't have experience with you, and you want the person who's going to say, you know what? I don't know, but let's call in this person, or let's send you here, or wow, I really hear this concern and this might not be common for you, but that doesn't mean it's out of the realm of what you could be experiencing. So let's just explore this and be open to, whatever it is that we find. And it might be nothing, but you want somebody that's going to like care. I don't know.
Oh, and there are also, especially with pediatricians,
Yes.
there are updated guidelines all the time. And some pediatricians don't even read that shit.
No.
And you'll know information they don't.
No, for sure. We have our practice for the pediatricians. There's like 5 doctors, and there's this one who I had her once, and that was enough. And she gave me shit because my children were little, and of course they didn't have their full panel of vaccines. And she yelled at me, and I'm scared because my kids have croup, and I don't know that they have croup. And so we're in there, and I'm trying to figure out why they're the way they are. And the next time I went back for follow-up with our pediatrician, I was like, she read me the Riot Act. And she's like, she's old school. She doesn't understand. Like, she's very set in her beliefs. And God, if she were my regular doctor, I would have, anytime I called on a Friday, because she always worked Fridays, and they're like, you can see Dr. such and such. And I was like, nope, I'll wait.
Oh,
Who's
same.
the other one?
That's like when you call the waxing place, and they're like, well, she's not here, but this one's here. No, don't give me Marcy. No, baby, because that shit don't grow in wrong. She be pulling it wrong. No, give me my person that I trust and believe.
Right.
And that's just it. If you want a high level of care from your pussy waxer, you should feel the same way about your pediatrician.
Oh gosh. Yeah,
So,
I
wait.
love my pediatrician.
So Amanda, say they get through, the 65 and older, the people in nursing homes, the teachers, cops, doctors, nurses, EMS, firefighters. They get through all that, and it's your turn to take the vaccine.
Yeah.
What you gonna do?
I've thought about this recently because my kids have been asking. I haven't decided. Part of me is kind of feeling like I take it, Chris takes it, and I hold on the kids.
The kids can't have it anyway, 16 and up.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. So I feel like the information that I'm getting, and especially with this new Johnson & Johnson, I think they're calling it like the triple J vaccination. Do the risks outweigh the benefits? And I could scare myself into not having it, but at the same time, it's not all about me. This is a greater good, and I don't know. It's something that I have to continue to sit with, because right now it makes me very uncomfortable. Because I'm in this place of fear, like that video you sent me the other day of that woman, like,
that was
convulsing.
fucked up. I shouldn't have sent you that.
I was like, shit.
No, that was fucked
oh my
up.
God.
No, but like I said, I love fear mongering. That was, I know, and that was wrong. I was trolling you, and that was fucked up because you were the last person I should have sent that to, and that was Melissa of yesterday. I don't do that no more. It literally was yesterday. And I also, they said that she was from the UK and she was talking redhead. She sounded American. And I was like, what?
She sounded American, yeah.
I was like, this got to be fake. But she was.
I thought it was
convulsing
fake
like a
until she
motherfucker.
started crying. And when she started crying, I was like, because I almost, this is going to sound so bad, I started laughing in the beginning, and then I was like, oh shit, she's serious, and then she started crying, and I was like, oh no, she's crying, this isn't fake, this isn't fake.
And that was the thing. I was like, okay, so she got the vaccine, and now she lost complete muscle control of her body.
Yeah.
I saw the video and was like, well, shit, if that's the case, just give me COVID. God, fuck, god damn. But then you have to remember, these are anomalies.
Right.
These are, these are rare. But then me, sure had the thing, just like y'all said she wouldn't have. So like, and I have just that kind of luck. And I'm worried about Bell's palsy. I'm worried about, I'm worried about, and I do think it's important to go ahead and get that vaccine if you can have access to that vaccine. And how I've rationalized it is, as Justin is the designated house leaver, when it comes our turn, I'm be like, go ahead, babe, let me know how it goes.
He's the sacrificial lamb.
Listen, and I talked to him about it, and I was like, do you want to take it? He's like, I think we should wait. Let's see. So it's definitely going to be when it's our turn.
Got a boot in his back, shoving him through the front door.
Like a National Guard's going to come knocking on the door. Backstab him. I'm going to act like I'm a fucking child. Oh,
God. Yeah, it's I know enough people firsthand now who have recovered from COVID, and they're all long haulers. They all have, like, I was just talking to a friend the other day. It's been 8 weeks since she was sick, and she still can't smell shit. I ran into a friend last week, and she's still super tired out of nowhere all the time. And sometimes she said her kid gets headaches that she didn't have before. So, my girlfriend has recurrent migraines. So it's like, ugh.
And that's another thing about messaging. They really fucked up on not explaining long haul.
Right. This whole 99.9% survival rate, great, but also,
how about the 85% of people that are long hauling?
Yes.
I don't know if that's a number, but I'm just saying.
It's a lot of people, and it's the thing that I think that scares me the most is, like, hearing the vascular damage and the heart inflammation and the thought of, like, my teeth just falling out. Like, that scares me enough that I am super fucking cautious.
Well, I think they didn't explain the long hauling, which is where my fear mongering comes into great play, because, I really do think about, just imagine, because I watched this documentary one time, and it was about a girl who, she had, what's that shit called? Fibromyalgia. And so there are some people in, the medical community who don't believe it's a real disease because it's just an amalgamation of like 10,000 different symptoms.
Yeah.
She had that, but then they also thought maybe it was chronic fatigue syndrome. And it was a documentary that followed her and another guy. And every day she woke up, she felt like shit. Like stuck to the bed, no appetite, nauseated, headaches, migraines, chills, just every day feeling like shit, constant doctor's appointments, and nobody could understand what was wrong with her. And so that's another point in the long haul where this is new, i.e. novel coronavirus. This is new. So these long-term effects, we're still trying to understand them. And there are people that have recovered, and then you watch the video of the guy, the kid running off onto the basketball stage, and the motherfucker just collapsed because he has myocarditis or whatever the heart disease thing is. And, people recover, but I think it's like shingles or whatever, where it's just in your body.
Yeah.
Laying low. And then one day you wake up and the side of your face don't move. And it's like, I'm going to just be in the house then.
Right. I think the thing that gives me the most comfort is that it's going to be a while before my number's called. There are still so many. And I think that's the thing, too. People don't understand how science works. They don't understand that it's trial and error, and it's, testing theories and trying to figure out the best solution. And so I think that can make people distrusting too, is that they think, well, they said this, kind of going back to the whole thing when COVID hit, and it was like, no masks, just distancing, and masks are necessary, and it's living on surfaces. Well, it's not living on surfaces how we previously thought. And I think that it can be overwhelming to try to keep up with all of it, but also understanding that, like, things are going to change every single day, and you just have to keep your finger on the pulse of it and try to understand as best as you can. And where you don't understand, ask questions and make a decision based off of research and credible information and not fear.
When you say finger on the pulse, bitch, I got both hands on the neck of. I don't stop.
Just a death grip, a cold
I do not
death grip.
Stop learning about COVID. It is, poor Justin. He's about to be a double masker, a double medical masker. And he's going to be annoyed, but that super contagious strain is out there, and it's not 6 feet. It's just fucking. And that's the other thing, again, with the messaging. It should have always been physical distance, not social. Social just means let's not hang out. No, bitch, I can't see you. Don't come over here. But, good luck, Joe. And Madam Vice President. Good luck. Because it's not just the anti-masker, MAGA that's fucking up with coronavirus. It's the people on the right side of history too that are also assholes that are getting on, and I'm gonna just say it. Marlene be getting on airplanes, dead ass. Oh, no. I got a picture of Shorty and Mercy the other day, texted to me. They were fucking sharing a chicken wing. Yes, a chicken wing with a bone in it, but like Lady and the Tramp. I was like, why are y'all sharing this like two little puppies about to kiss? In a restaurant in a pandemic. And so I just lost faith. You know what I'm saying? I can't make my family stay home. I can't make my friends stay home. I just got to worry about me.
That's it. And everybody takes, what they think is the good risk. I have a friend who's flying out this week, and I was just like, oh, why? And, I take my own level of risks. To me, the riskiest is just being out in the world with other people without a mask on. I find that I can handle things, and I can send my kids out to school and to their activities, knowing that, everybody's masked and distanced, and it works, right? It's helpful. It's a way that we're going to have to learn how to live in this world, but there will be no time soon where I will be gathering with people other than my family, my immediate family who lives in my house, without a mask on and being close.
That will never happen. Actually, Justin has something going on. This guy he works with, who I trust, and who also his family's been locked down, staying home. He has to come in the house. This week he has to come in the house. Justin and I had he's like, babe, it's gonna be the living room, and I'm thinking, I'm already planning. I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna open the side door. I'm gonna get that fan going. I'm gonna put the kids, because I'm trying to figure out where my HVAC is connected and where it's not connected, because my master bedroom has a whole different system than the rest of the house. So I'm like, so the kid's gonna be back here. I'm going to have that coronavirus motherfucker. And that's the other thing, is I just assume everybody coming in here has it. So that makes that makes me think harder and longer about my plans.
Yeah.
And Justin has to be speaking. So he'll be, the guy that's coming will be in his mask. But Justin will not be in his mask. We'll see. It'll be nice. I'm going to wave.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to be in my... And I do. My kids, if they have to go out into the kitchen or they have to do something or whatever, they're going to have... Everybody's going to be masked.
Yeah.
When the man's in the house.
We've had to have... I had an electrician out 2 weeks ago for the hot tub, and he was in the house, but he was masked. And as soon as I opened the door, even if the kids... they were in their bedrooms. They weren't even in the basement with him, but I was like, as long as he's in the house and he has a mask on, you too will be wearing your mask. So it's it can be done, and he was here. I had a HVAC guy because our furnace broke about a month ago. So I find that people tend to be respectful.
I actually
when they're
like
coming
it.
into your house.
I actually like it because if it's a delivery and y'all got to come in the house, or we had to have the fridge fixed one time during this thing. You're going to take off your shoes or put them booty things on, them real estate booty things on, or you're going to be wearing a mask, and we're going to be wearing a mask. I think that that's not going away from my family anytime soon. You stranger have to have a mask on to come up in here.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about post-pandemic, just like the intimate cocktail part. Post-pandemic, like we're really out of it for good type shit.
Yeah.
Just the intimate cocktail party that I want to have with, you know, the people whose friendships have survived this with me. Just the list is getting smaller. Just thinking about entertaining and how exciting that'll be. Like JJ and I were talking about it, and it was just like we were literally going through our cocktail dishes. Like, ooh, remember that? Ooh, we can get that one out. Like he was showing me his Jonathan Adler's, and I was like, God, that thing hasn't seen the light of day. He's like, I know. Imagine a party. I'm like, yeah. Just, you know, there's things to look forward to.
Yeah. We'll get there.
Oh my God, please. Okay, well, if you're still listening, you've gotten this far on the episode, and you're getting to the end credits, that means that you too survived the inauguration. And you know, Amanda and I had expressed in the Patreon that we were nervous about it, but as it turns out, Joe and Kamala were right. We needed that. We needed that as a nation. It was a grand celebration. Nobody got shot up. It was all stuff we needed to hear. I was like a 70-year-old yesterday watching that shit from 8 a.m. till about 11 p.m., hours on end with the TV loud as fuck. And I didn't even know that I needed it. I needed it. Not the healing of the soul. Anyway, it's a new dawn, a new day, bitch. We have a new president. Yes. And we're very happy about that. So without further ado, let's just talk about this podcast, because now, oh my God, life can move forward without having to worry every single day about what's happening in that White House. I just can't wait for a time to be bored by politics. This is just, we've earned it, guys. So thank you for listening to the show. If you like the show, great. Tell your friends about it. If you really like it, you can subscribe. After subscribing, you can always rate and review the show. We only accept 5-star ratings. That's a thing. And you can leave us a nice little message in the review, and that way other people that find the show, discover the show, will be excited about finding it. It's a thing that helps. Also, follow us on all our social media. A very important social media that we have is Instagram, because it's where you get the interactive story. It's where you get the summaries of each episode. It's where you can watch us on Monday nights. On Monday nights, we come back to the Instagram account and we discuss the episode that you just heard. So Monday Night Live is great. The Instagram is instagram.com/imperfect_strangers_pod. Girl, what am I talking about? You know what the Instagram is, imperfect_strangers_podcast. You can find us there. We also have a Twitter, Imperf Strangers. We have a Patreon. If you missed the Monday Night Live, or if you want bonus content like episodes you've never heard before, or a newsletter, or your name shouted out, or, you know, hey, shit, if you want to record an episode with us, you can do that through the Patreon. You can find that all on our link in our bio. Thank you again for listening. We're so excited to have you here. Please tell all your friends. That would be great.